I still can't believe that dude kicked the cat. Like, that was a bad move. That's 0 out of 10. Foul on the play. Welcome to the Twisted Pint Tavern. Today we're visiting r/D&D to check out the answers to players, what are some things your favorite DM has done? Rather than the usual worst player or nightmare DM stories, let's cherish our beloved DMs just once, shall we? I usually DM, but the last time I actually played, the DM did something that I have since stolen and everyone seems to love. Before the campaign, right after character creation, the DM gave me 3 scenarios and asked how my character handled them. We roleplayed each one for just a few minutes before moving on. I then told the DM 3 scenarios my character experienced and we talked through those. They had no real effect on my character and there were no rewards or punishments for my decisions, but it allowed me to discover more about my character and how to play them in the DM's world before I joined with the rest of the party. I fully support character roleplay before you actually get into the game, or even if you're already in the game and you feel like people need to kind of learn who their characters are a little more, just do a little one-on-one session with each person, just going over a few scenarios to learn how to roleplay that character. It works wonders for figuring out how they feel about certain things and how they want to go about handling others. Just like real life, our experiences can shape our personality, and so if you're going into something playing a personality that you don't know much about, the best thing to do is to experience things with that personality and learn about it. The best DMs give reasonable plans a chance to succeed, rather than shutting players down because it's not what the DM expected them to do. The best DM I ever played with gracefully acknowledged when his plans went awry, or when the party disliked an NPC that he'd invested time in. It made it clear that our opinions and choices as players actually mattered. This goes kind of back to the DM is not the enemy of the players, but on the DM side of it. Like, your players aren't your enemies, so if they have a cool plan or they don't like an NPC that you put in the world, that's not them attacking you or attacking your story. Sometimes they just develop opinions about those things, or they have ideas that are thinking outside the box. And while not everything's going to work, sometimes just letting them try it can make for an incredible story. So I say go for it when it makes sense. My character is a blacksmith looking for smithing secrets to craft magical items, but smithing doesn't much come up, fighting goblins, rescuing townsfolk, usual D&D stuff. So the start of one adventure, it's spring, and she says I've had all winter to smith, and we recently found a book on magical item creation with some templates. I was to pick up 500 gold pieces worth of items to have created. She expected me to pick up a single uncommon magical item, but instead I outfitted the main town's entire guards with shields. They had long swords, and every militia member with crossbows, they had slings. Next adventure, the town got attacked, and our guys were using their gear to good effect. She lets us roll for NPCs on our side, and it's nice to change that damage die from a D4 to a D8, all from my smithing. I feel like tool proficiencies, which is what smithing falls into, get forgotten as soon as you're done creating your character, and that is a widely missed opportunity by DMs and players. If you're proficient in smithing tools, you should be using that. When you have downtime in a town, or let's say you have some way to craft and forge stuff on the go, you should be spending part of your rest time just tinkering away on things. Like, let's say you're a leather worker and you have proficiency with leatherworking tools, and your party comes across like hides and such. You kill some wolves, you get the hides, that's great. As part of your short and long rest time, you can be sitting there prepping the hides and punching the holes and stitching them together and turn those hides into wearable or sellable hide and leather armor. Is that a crazy powerful thing? No, but does it make a difference when somebody only has padded armor and you're able to just make them leather armor and that saves their life? Yeah, that's pretty cool. When my cat died, the DM allowed me to learn the familiar spell, even though I technically wouldn't get it at all or much later. I got to have my cat live on through D&D. Oh, so it's a real cat, not an in-game cat. Your real cat died. Of course, the first time I cast it, a party member immediately killed my familiar cat because his character didn't like it, but I got it back pretty fast and he promised to not do it again. Yeah, so we got a wholesome, then not wholesome, then wholesome again. So first off, that is amazing by the DM, giving you the ability to cast Find Familiar and have your cat live on in the game. I think that that is like heart-touching, amazing, I love it. Now, on to the player killing the cat. If he knew that it was your IRL cat inspired familiar and he did that, the dude's a dick. There's no other terminology, there's no other way around that. The dude is a dick. If he didn't know and he was just messing around, it's a scary ghost thing, whatever, kick it, that's a little different. But either way, guys, just don't kick your party's familiars. Just don't do it. DMs who actually care and take interest in your PC. My first campaign, my DM didn't even bother to read the backstory I sent, and didn't even know my PC's name or class in the first session, and had forgotten in the second. Luckily, I now have a DM who gets excited about PCs and backstories. I get not wanting to read like the super long, here's my novel backstory, like that's different, but if your characters send you like up to a page worth of backstory, you just read it. It's gonna take you a couple of minutes and you'll learn a lot about the character, and then you remember that and you can integrate it into your story, and it's great. Just read the simple backstories, please. Set piece battles. One of my DMs is so good at making combats take place in peculiar circumstances. We fought on a shipwreck in a storm as it was swept away, had to run down a barge on a city canal, jump onto it from a bridge, then fight as it went off course, and battled on a toppling tower. The circumstances escalating as you need to like save to stay standing when the barge hits the canal wall are just really cinematic. Makes my combats on a couple of tiers of flat ground seem really boring. Are they a little railroaded? Sure. Is it fun to ride a roller coaster? Hell yeah. Dynamic fights that change as you go and have environmental conditions are so much fun. It's one of the reasons I enjoy my pirate campaign so much, because the fights aren't just flat ground and it's done. It starts ship to ship, and then as they get closer, people start teleporting or jumping over or whatever, and then it's a boarding combat, and then they go below deck, and there's other hazards and complications that can occur, and that's not even considering if it's in a storm. So yes, +1 for dynamic engaging combats. As a DM, I find that my friends like non-combat solutions to problems. Let them be clever and use their various skills and items to solve confrontations and quests. This gives them a bigger sense of control and rewards creative play. Absolutely, if your players aren't the gung-ho murder hobos like most D&D players are, have non-combat solutions to things. Sometimes going in and having a conversation with the king and rolling persuasion checks and then role-playing how the conversation's actually going can be just as intense as going and rolling combat dice against his guards. Like, there's a lot of ways that you can get through something that don't require drawing a blade. Now, is drawing a blade fun a lot of times? Absolutely, but having non-combat solutions to things is pretty much essential in my opinion. Our DM gave the first person to show up inspiration before we started playing at a player's house. It ensured the majority of us showed up on time, if not a bit early. We just say that when the session starts, everyone has inspiration because it's easier, and it usually gets used in the first like 5 minutes anyway, so it's not that big a deal. But having some sort of incentive for showing up on time, with the way some D&D groups' scheduling issues are, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Years ago, my first 3E D&D PC died attempting to save the rest of the group. The next session was focused fully around my character's funeral. The elven magistrate that he had fallen in love with gave a teary speech. Each player got a moment to speak. It was all pretty touching. But my favorite moment was when a commoner none of us knew stood up, walked to the podium, and began speaking about the respect he had for an enemy with the strength and courage to stand up to him. We all realized the BBEG that had killed my character had possessed the commoner so he could show his respect. That, I'm pausing for a sec, that is metal as fuck, and I love it. That gave me a way better understanding of how an enemy can be way more interesting than just a chaotic evil thing for the players to kill. Yeah, I'm using that. My players, yes, you know who you are. Forget you heard this, because this is totally something I'm gonna try. I think having the BBEG show respect to a fallen party member, especially if it's further into the campaign and they've had a lot of encounters, that is a really cool way to show the group that their actions matter and they're kind of important to the BBEG as well, because the BBEG doesn't have a story if the party isn't there to oppose them. My DM had our party fight a really long 2-session battle, which ended in all of us dying at the same time to some sort of Watcher in the Water from Lord of the Rings type thing. We then all ended up waking up at the same time because, it turns out, we were all hallucinating on mushrooms that one of our players had kicked into a tunnel we were making our way through. Despite making zero progress story-wise, I'd never had more fun playing a game in my life. We all leveled up, so it wasn't a complete waste of time, and it definitely made me a lot more engaged and cautious of the things we were doing in-game. There's a wrong and a right way to mess with your players. This was the latter. Okay, so this is cool, and I don't want to take away from the story, but my fellow DMs out there, do you feel like this guy, like, that was legit, and they went in and fought this thing and TPK'd, and he was like, shit, how do I deal with this? It was a dream. It was a dream, haha, you're fine, you were tripping on mushrooms. Because I kind of get that feeling from this. Either way, it's a cool story, but I feel like that's probably how it went down. My DM knows that my favorite type of quest is heists, so he planned a heist session for my birthday. To this day, it's my favorite session. He planned a session for everyone's birthday as something special for them. That is really cool. I do holiday specials, so like Halloween specials are kind of creepy, and then Christmas specials are Christmas story related, and so on and so forth. I've done birthday specials before, but never like this, where it's I'm gonna make an entire session that is completely your favorite type of session. And honestly, I'm gonna steal that because I really, really like it, and I think it's a great way to show appreciation to your players, especially for being in for the long haul. Now for my input. Since I'm the forever DM of our group, I don't get to play in other DMs' games very often. I'm actively playing in one game right now, and it's my brother DMing it. And I gotta say, one thing I appreciate is the fact that he's actually willing to DM a game, so I get a chance to play here and there. That goes unappreciated by most since there are more players than there are DMs, but it really is pretty great. The same goes to all the other DMs I've played with or might be starting up with soon. Though on a more game running note, one thing I think my brother does really well are his descriptors. The way he can describe a monster, fully giving you an image and a feeling of how truly gruesome and terrifying they are without even having to show you a picture is fantastic. It's even better when he describes something from IRL mythology so well that I can call what it is before he says the name and shows us the picture. As one, it feels cool to accurately connect the dots, but two, it just shows how great the descriptors really are without feeling drawn out and dull. For example, recently he was describing this squelching, cracking sound as we saw something emerge from the ribcage of a dead mage. First we saw jagged antlers hit the moonlight, followed by white glowing eyes, a long beast-like nose, and lanky, inhumanly long limbs and fingers, yet the creature still resembled a human in form. I called out, "It's a fucking Wendigo, isn't it?" To which he smiled, said, "Take your inspiration back," and showed us a picture of a Wendigo. Also, I gotta give a shout out to my dad as a great DM as well, because so much of my early D&D experience was in games that he was running. And no, I'm not just saying this because he watches my videos, but hi Dad, thanks for watching my videos. But that's gonna do it for today's video. This was a long one, but it was a good one. I feel like the point of these like good traits of a DM videos aren't to say if you're not doing these things you're a bad DM, but they show you things that you can do that will help engage your players or just cool tips and tricks to pull in and see if they work for your style. I'm definitely going to be adopting some of these, and if you liked any of these, let me know in the comments which ones were your favorites. Also, let's continue the trend. Give some praise to the DMs out there. Tell us some of your favorite things that your DMs have done, and hopefully we can make a part 2 of this video. You can do that either in the comments or by clicking the link in the description and going to the Twisted Pint Tavern Discord server. Anyway, thank you guys again, and I'll see all of you wonderful people in the next video. I still can't believe that dude kicked the fucking cat. Like, that was a bad move. That's 0 out of 10. Foul on the play.